What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Optimus Fantasy Football channel here on YouTube. It is Friday, folks, and to kick off our weekend of content, we are here with the Optimus DFS show, and I am joined here by the one and only, the ghost, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mike Reedy, with no camera today. Mike, how are we doing despite the whole camera snafu?
Despite the camera snafu that slowed down our show and then won't repair. Good. Other than that, good. Really good.
Yeah, I mean, tech things happen, man. It's part of life, and when we're running these kinds of shows, you just never know what's going to happen. I lost power mid-show one time. That was a fun one. A show I was hosting.
I'm a nice talking bubble now. I mean, you can watch me speak on screen as well. I move.
You can see the little radiation from the little bubble here. But you know what, Mike? Let's go ahead and get to this week 2 DFS slate, and we're going to start with quarterbacks. I don't know why it just kicked you off there. That was interesting. But here we are. We've got quarterbacks, and we're going to start. We were just talking about him right before we came on air. Aaron Rodgers. This wasn't supposed to be a thing. He signed with Pittsburgh, Mike, and this wasn't supposed to be a thing. We're not supposed to be talking about Aaron Rodgers here.
Well, I mean, after like the second game last year, nobody talked about him all season with the Jets because he was not good. I mean, here and there he had splashes, but I liked what I saw with this offense. I really liked it. It's not what you expect from that offensive coordinator as well. A lot of quick passes. I really like what I saw from David Njoku, even though it was only 5. Jonas Smith, even though it was only 5 receptions for 15 yards and a touchdown. I like the creative usage, right? And I like how Aaron spread the ball around. People thought he was just going to pound it to DK Metcalf, and he really spread it around.
Yeah.
There's a lot to like right now, I think, with Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. And I'll plug Moneymakers and Heartbreakers at Fantrax, where I wrote the 10 things I hate about you, Aaron Rodgers, as well. It's might be the best thing I ever wrote.
Well, so this harkens back to those Arthur Smith offenses in Tennessee when he made Ryan Tannehill relevant. I think some people forget about that because we get so mad about what happened in Atlanta when he was the head coach and the death of Kyle Pitts and all of that. And yeah, the way that he uses assets and offenses can be frustrating, but it looks like what he's doing with his Pittsburgh offense is exactly what he needs to do for this team to be successful. And for us to want to take stabs on these guys in DFS, I mean, Aaron Rodgers right now, you can get him for, I mean, it's not a super deal, but $5,500 on DraftKings, $7,400 on FanDuel. That's still about $1,000 less than the top tier quarterback. So I think it's a steal. And, you know, it's a good matchup this weekend, too. They've got Seattle. Seattle's defense isn't exceptional. They're not anything special. They're not going to do anything crazy to stop him.
No, I think it's a good play. I'm actually playing him in season long in a couple of places where I lost Brock Purdy as well.
Yep.
Not afraid, right? Not afraid at all.
No. Well, he's got the weapons in this offense. And another player you've got on this list, I was going to bring him up as well, but Justin Fields, he was on the other half of that Pittsburgh game last weekend. Another guy who was really, really very surprising with how well he played, how efficient he was. Fields completed 72.7% of his passes last weekend against a good Pittsburgh defense, Mike. Right now, $5,700 on DraftKings, $7,600 on FanDuel. The matchup is Buffalo. Does that give you any pause with Justin Fields this weekend?
No, Lamar Jackson basically just lit them up. Similar type player. Not that I'm saying Fields is Lamar Jackson, because he's not. Lamar Jackson is elite of the elite.
Of course.
But I've always liked Justin Fields as a player more than most people. I couldn't understand why they ran him out of town in Chicago. I didn't think he played bad there at all. He played excellent in Pittsburgh last year. So the efficiency you mentioned, I expected that this year.
Yeah.
He passed for 1 touchdown. He ran for 2 others. It's kind of what you should expect from him, right? But you're going to see that again. I mean, that's how he's going to try to keep them in this game against the Bills with their high-powered offense. And yeah, he's not priced badly either, right? So it works out nice.
Yeah, well, and I want to bring up what you just said about, being excited about him. I wrote about him for our Friday Vibes article over on Optimus Fantasy, which will be coming out soon. So check that out, optimusfantasy.com. But again, I'm not surprised. I expected him to be good. I'm more surprised by the rest of this offense actually looking good with him, where it didn't just have to be Justin Fields running the ball 15 times for 100 yards. to lead them to a win.
But if you look at what we were mad about with Aaron Rodgers last season with the Jets, was they have all these skill position players that are
Yep.
good, and it just appeared he wasn't using them.
Yep. And Justin Fields is, and he's getting the
And
most
Justin
out of
Fields
them.
is. Yeah.
He was QB4 last week. I think we're going to get a similar finish out of him in Buffalo. I don't think the Jets are going to be in this game necessarily because Buffalo's offense is just so good, but they could be. And even if they're not, that's Justin Fields throwing the ball a ton. And if he can be even remotely as efficient as he was last week, that's still going to be good for fantasy. I think he's a top 5 quarterback this week. Your next pick, Jalen Hurts. He's 6,800 on DraftKings, 8,300 on FanDuel. They're up against the Chiefs this weekend, Mike. What do you expect out of Hurts against the Chiefs defense that really wasn't great against the Chargers last weekend?
Justin Herbert threw for 318 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I like the passing game this week for the Eagles. They have a great offensive line. We know Jalen Hurts can sling it when he wants, and he can run touchdowns in when he wants. He's another elite quarterback that can do whatever he wants. If you want to pay up, I think Jalen Hurts is in a great spot. I like some other Eagles as well, by the way, that we'll talk about.
Yep.
But Hurts had 62 yards on the ground last week as well, and 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yep.
I think you're going to see more of an air attack this week out of him, and I'm here for it. He's the guy if I was going to pay up, I'd pay up for this week.
I agree. This is a great matchup. I think they're going to throw it more than 23 times. I think we're in the neighborhood of 30 probably passing attempts this week. But I think we get the same rushing efficiency out of him, so it's just going to be a bump in value. He's a guy I would absolutely pay for up as well. Now, here's a little bit lower on the totem pole. We've got Drake May up against the lowly Miami Dolphins defense. Mike, 5,200 on DraftKings, 6,800 on FanDuel. Drake May looked pretty pedestrian last week.
Oh.
I'm guessing you think that changes against this Miami defense?
The Miami defense is brutal. All right. Now, I'm not going to try to say that Drake May has the same kind of weapons that Daniel Jones has in the Colts offense. Daniel Jones has the best offensive weapons of his career. But Drake May has some guys who can do some things with the football when they catch it. I think this is more of a testament to how bad the Dolphins defense is than to anything regarding what Drake May did. Drake May will throw some crazy interception here and there. He kind of does that often. Being a Patriots fan, it's a little irritating, but he does. But he's also going to run with the football too here and there. So I think we're looking at a good game out of Drake May this week. And from what I've looked around the industry, I'm not the only one. Like Drake May's pretty consensus top play this week.
Well, the thing is, his defense is terrible. He was 30 to 46 last week. He still picked up 17 fantasy points despite the interception. Against a decent Vegas defense, I mean, they have some parts and pieces, and it's a Pete Carroll team, so you know that they're coached well. Versus this Miami defense that, I mean, made Daniel Jones look like a freaking Hall of Fame quarterback, which we can debate on whether he can live up to that against Denver this week. But Miami's going to make Drake May look very good this week. And at 5,200 on DraftKings, I mean, you really can't go wrong with that, right? It's a really good value play, and you can pay up with some of these other players we like.
And that's why it's a good reason to do it this week. That defense is pathetic.
Yeah. Now, the last guy I threw on here, and y'all are going to laugh at me until the week's over, Mac Jones, starting in place of Brock Purdy. He's $4,400 on DraftKings, $6,000 on FanDuel. Mike, we're getting the quarterback that Kyle Shanahan wanted starting for Kyle Shanahan. Finally, guy should have been the number 3 overall pick.
As soon as that came up that he was starting, I texted one of my best friends that Shanahan's finally getting Mac Jones like he wanted to play for him. I'm a huge Brock Purdy stan. I know lots of people in the fantasy community don't like him because he was drafted so late, so therefore he must stink. Brock Purdy always exceeds those expectations. By the way, Mac Jones was really good with the Patriots. If they didn't have the coaching carousel, he might have continued to play well. He played excellent last year for Jacksonville, in my opinion. I know some people like, he wasn't good. He was pretty good. Brian Thomas Jr. had his best games of the season with Mac Jones at quarterback, not Trevor Lawrence. I think we're going to see a lot of Ricky Pearsall. I think we're going to see a lot of CMC in the receiving game. And Mac will be fine. I actually like him this week too. Happy to see it. Happy to see the kid get a shot.
Yeah, I am too. I like Mac Jones. Who knows why? I like the kid. And I've got him, I actually bumped him up. I've got him this week at QB 24 in my weekly rankings. I do think he's going to play well, and I think I might be a little too low on him, honestly. But only time will tell. Let's move on to the running backs, Mike. We have got a decent slate of running backs here. It was hard for me going through these ones because I saw your picks. They're really the only guys on this list that I liked anyways. I threw one more in there, but we'll start with James Conner, Arizona Cardinals, 6,600 on DraftKings, 7,700 on FanDuel. The veteran running back just keeps coming back. He keeps playing well. They've got a decent matchup this weekend. Well, more than decent against Carolina. So I love this play. He's inexpensive. 6,600 for a running back is not bad. Tell me about James Conner, Mike.
All right. So I had Travis Etienne in the same slot last week, right? And I'm sure people were questioning that. And he had 143 yards against this pathetic Carolina Panthers defense. So what people are looking at Benson having 60 something yards last week, and they don't understand that 52 of that came on one run. Conner plays 65% of the snaps at running back for Arizona. He is the guy there. He just didn't have one that he broke big time last week. He's going to be the guy who gets the majority of the touches against a pathetic defense against the run. I really like him a lot this week. Matchup's perfect.
Yeah, it's a great matchup. You've got to hammer up against this Carolina defense like we're doing against the Miami defense. I think that's just a good strategy right now until they show us something different. Carolina let Travis Etienne run all over them. I'm not an Etienne guy, but last week was a week where I fired him up anywhere that I had him. I think this is a great play, Mike. Then we've got Kyren Williams, Los Angeles Rams, $6,300 on DraftKings, $8,000 on FanDuel. People keep wanting him to be dead. People keep writing him off, but he keeps producing, Mike. I think it's absolutely crazy. They're in Tennessee this weekend. I believe this is a great matchup. Why do you love Kyren Williams so much?
I always like him because he does a little of everything, right? Like he'll run the football and get you 60, 70 yards, and he'll catch the ball for another 50 yards or something and throw in a touchdown or two in the game. Last week he had a touchdown. He didn't have anything exceptional for yardage there, but we're talking about another really bad team, the Titans. The Rams will probably get up, and the game script will more than likely be to run the football, and Kyron's going to run the football for them.
I don't know what else you want out of a running back. I'll never understand the heavy fades on Kyren Williams.
These guys are tripling down and quadrupling down because they didn't like his draft capital. You may have saw it after he scored a touchdown last week. I said, fantasy football community, I don't like him. He doesn't excel in any facet of the game. Oh, look, Kyron scored another touchdown. Yay. I mean,
he's been the PPR RB7 the last 2 seasons.
I don't understand the hate because of that. A starting running back in that Rams offense has always been a top 10 running back. And
always.
Now it's Kyron.
Yeah, it's the system. It's just the system. The next one we've got here, Dylan Sampson, Cleveland Browns went off last week. 8 targets, 8 catches for the Browns in his rookie debut. $5,200 on DraftKings, $5,500 on FanDuel, Mike. Cleveland has the Baltimore defense. I still like this play, though. Until Quinshon Judkins comes back, Dylan Sampson seems to be the guy.
Especially in PPR, right? He had 8 targets, 8 receptions, 64 yards receiving last week. So I like him in that role. And yes, until Judkins plays, then we don't know how this will pan out, right? But right now you have Ford and Sampson. The other kid, the third running back, had a touchdown last week too, which hurts Ford. But I think just because of his receiving talent, Dylan Sampson looks like the third wide receiver essentially on this team.
Yep.
And Flacco's going to be throwing the ball because they're going to be chasing the Ravens the whole game.
Yep. Oh, they're going to have to. I think we can expect probably another 12 carries around 30 yards out of Sampson this week. But If we see that 8 targets again and he gets a touchdown, this is a fantastic value play. I love this one, Mike. Now, the one that I brought to the table this week, Breece Hall up against Buffalo, 6,200 on DraftKings, 7,300 on FanDuel. And we already kind of talked about this, but what this Buffalo defense allowed Derrick Henry to do up until the end of the fourth quarter on Monday night, it makes me really excited for what Breece Hall can be this week. I think this Jets team might be a lot better than we think they are. I think not that they're going to contend. I don't think that they're going to contend in any fashion. Maybe they'll contend for a wild card spot, but this offense is a little bit more electric than I think any of us thought it would be. And Breece Hall is looking really good. People were fading him coming into the season because of Justin Fields being a mobile quarterback. But I think what we've seen is these guys can coexist. And even against Buffalo, I like Breece Hall a lot this week.
Well, it's a small sample size, but Buffalo, I think, gave up the most yards on the ground in week 1. And Breece Hall had 107 rushing yards. I think you can look for him to get over 100 again. I like this call.
Yeah, I think easily over 100. I'd like to see him targeted a little bit more in the passing game. I mean, this is a guy who had 95 targets in 2023 and 76 last season. I don't know that that's going to happen, but on the rushing side alone, I think he's a good play this week.
He was pretty good with his 2 catches last week, too. He had 38 more yards there, right?
Yep.
So I wouldn't mind seeing him catch a few more balls as well.
Yeah, come on. Can we get him to like 6-8 targets, Justin Fields?
Yeah.
Let's do this. All right, Mike, let's move on to the wide receivers now. Your first pick, I love this one. Cedric Tillman, Cleveland Browns, 4,300 on DraftKings, 5,400 on FanDuel. Seems weird to be targeting this Browns offense, but man, 8 targets, 5 catches, and a touchdown last week. I think Flacco likes Cedric Tillman, Mike.
I think so too, and I think the Browns do in general, the coaching staff. So he played 80% of the snaps at wide receiver, the same as Jerry Jeudy. He saw a 17% target share in week 1. And if people weren't paying attention last year, or they have a short memory and can't remember, Tillman was good last year with his opportunities as well. He produces when you're throwing him the football. He had 8 targets, I think it was, or 8 receptions. I'm sorry, I didn't write that down, so I don't have that in front of me. But he had a touchdown as well in week 1. Yep. I like him because, again, they're going to have to throw the ball. And one of the mistakes a lot of fantasy analysts make is you want a good player on a good team. You want a good player on a bad team too, especially if they have to throw the ball nonstop. And they're going to throw the ball a lot. And yep. I don't think they run the ball exceptionally well, even though we mentioned Dylan Sampson. We also mentioned we want him for his receiving work, not for his running work. Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't a team that runs the ball well. They're going to have to throw a ton against Baltimore. It was 8 targets, 5 catches for Tillman. And I think we see him in the 8 to 10 to 11 to 12 target range. We saw the same thing when Flacco was playing a couple of years ago there. He peppered Tillman then. So I don't know why it would change. This is a great play, especially $4,300 on DraftKings, $5,400 on FanDuel. I think that's a really good deal. Next guy up is Jackson Smith-Njigba, Seattle Seahawks, 6,000 on DraftKings, 7,400 on FanDuel. I can't argue with this. He's the obvious wide receiver 1. I don't know who else they're going to throw to, really.
He had 13 targets, which was 56.5% target share of all the passes thrown by the Seattle Seahawks in week 1. I really think that we're going to see some things happen with him this week. I think he should have a good game. Garrett Wilson had 95 yards and a touchdown last week against the Steelers. Jackson Smith-Njigba is also a very good wide receiver. I like his ceiling this week a lot.
Yeah, it's a phenomenally high ceiling. Now, your next guy, A.J. Brown, 6,600 on DraftKings, 7,500 on FanDuel. A lot of fantasy managers were really upset with A.J. Brown's performance last week. Not that it was his fault. 87% snap share, but only 1 target up against Kansas City this week. Mike, that has to change, right?
Well, you can pass on Kansas City, so I think it will change, right? You can count on the fact that A.J. Brown talked to his friend Jalen Hurts about, hey, do you think you could throw me the ball a couple of times next week as well? Because they are friends. That's supposedly why A.J. Brown was happy to go there. if week 1 is any indication of what you can do to that Kansas City defense, is you can pass the ball on them. A.J. Brown
Yes.
is probably a better wide receiver than any of the guys that play for the Chargers. I'm thinking he has a big game this week.
Well, and if you can get that Hurts Brown stack, that's going to be huge in DFS this week. Because, like you're saying, you can throw on them. Saquon Barkley's obviously going to get his, but this is going to be a much more pass heavy script for the Eagles this week than what we saw last week. So I love this pick, Mike. Last one, Keon Coleman, Buffalo Bills at the New York Jets. He's $5,100 on DraftKings, $5,300 on FanDuel. People are incredibly low on him, Mike, right now, even after what he did last week. And I mean, you can say maybe it was a flash in the pan. For me, it feels like he's the wide receiver one, 88% snap share, 11 targets, 8 catches, 112 yards, and a touchdown. And granted, that touchdown was on a tip, but we're seeing him more involved. He's seeing a heavier target share. I think this continues against the Jets. How do you feel about this one, Mike?
I like it, especially if they're passing the ball, the Bills, and they will. I know history tells us that that offense spreads the ball around, and I like other guys like Josh Palmer as well. The two deep ball threats with those two guys, I think, helps both of them. So I like Keon Coleman a lot. I think it's a great play this week. Probably every week, right? Like
He's a guy I'm
okay.
regularly plugging into my lineups.
Yeah, he's really good.
Uh, it's wild. I am 17 spots higher than consensus on him on the Fantasy Pros weekly rankings right now. I've got him at wide receiver 23. I can't believe I'm that much higher than everybody else on him. So maybe that'll help me win the wide receiver rankings this week, Mike. You never know,
Maybe.
right? Maybe. All right, well, let's get over to tight ends here. Mike, Jonnu Smith, we just kind of talked about him. $3,900 on DraftKings, $5,400 on FanDuel. I really like this player. Are you looking for more gadget stuff that lends itself to some touchdowns this week from him?
I think we're going to see some stuff to get him touchdowns in the red zone. Similar to what they did in Miami last year. It looks like Arthur Smith has really tweaked the playbook big time for what he has for players this year. The Seahawks gave up 2 touchdowns last week, by the way, to 2 different Niners tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
So, Smith had 6 targets, 5 receptions, only 15 yards, mostly because I think he's primarily just a red zone target or, first down type of target, which is fine. He doesn't need a lot of yards if he's scoring touchdowns.
Right.
I just expect them to still be creative. I think he's a sneaky play in week 2 in DFS and in season long if you're hurting for a tight end. And the price in DFS allows you to do things like that crazy Hertz Brown stack.
Yep.
I
I
mean,
mean, 3,600 is nothing. I
yeah,
love this call. Or sorry, 3,900.
yeah,
He's an Arthur Smith darling, and he's in an Arthur Smith offense. You know Arthur Smith is going to use him, and like you said, a touchdown makes him a top 15 tight end as long as he scores one every week. Now your second one here, Trey McBride, paying up a little bit here at tight end, 6,000 on DraftKings, 7,000 on FanDuel. But Mike, I can't argue with paying up here at tight end because he's the wide receiver one on his team.
There's only two people in the passing tree here, it appears, right, for the most part. So he had a 31% target share. And if you throw Marvin Harrison in there as well, who had a 20% target share, they get 51% of the targets in the Carolina passing game. So he had nine week 1 McBride had. So they're going to throw the ball to him against this very bad Panthers team. I think they're going to run the ball a lot as well. Uh, it's a good week to play your Cardinals if you want to. Let's just put it that way.
Oh,
All
100%.
yeah.
Again, hammer against the Carolina defense. I think that's the theme of the day. Next one up, Juwan Johnson, New
Okay.
Orleans, up against San Francisco this weekend. 3,600 on DraftKings, 5,000 on FanDuel. This is someone we both really like, and it's hard not to, Mike. 11 targets last week. He had 8 catches for 76 yards. Didn't even need a touchdown to finish his tight end 3 in PPR on the week. I don't see this volume changing for him because Chris Olave is hurt half the time. Rashid Shaheed doesn't look 100%. They don't have much else in this offense outside of Alvin Kamara. I don't know who else Spencer Rattler's supposed to throw the ball to.
He played 99% of the snaps week 1. He's the only healthy tight end on the team, and he's the second option in the passing game. I love it. I'm playing him in season long in a few places and in DFS. I love this call. Really love it.
Yeah, well, it's somebody who I think we both were interested in talking about today. And again, dude, $3,600, you can spend up a lot of other places and be just fine with Juwan Johnson. The last tight end we're going to talk about, Mike, Harold Fannin over in Cleveland. They're up against Baltimore, as we have talked about this weekend. $3,100 on DraftKings, $5,000 on FanDuel. He's a rookie. They've got David Njoku, but that didn't matter last week against Cincinnati. A 72% snap share, 9 targets, 7 catches for 63 yards. He finishes the week tight end 8 without a touchdown. I think we're going to see a lot more of this. They move him all around. He's lining up all over the place. In line, slot. He's lining up in the X. They lined him up a couple times in the backfield last week. I just like, for the price, what his ceiling could be this week. I mean, I think his ceiling's a top 5 tight end every week, depending on how they use him.
So I've seen some fantasy analysts trash this, as people were saying to add him and everything else last week. I was one of the people saying add him, and there's reasons why. One, you just mentioned, he was moved all over the field in the offense, and I know that tight ends have had success against the Bengals over the past year and a half of football, and maybe they just took advantage of the defense, right, with this scheme. But he played 72% of the snaps. They were running 12 formation a lot because Njoku was on the field a little bit more than that. It's not like he played 20% of the snaps and they threw him the ball every time he was out there because they were targeting the defense in a certain way. This guy was on the field for the majority of the game, and they lined him up everywhere. I don't think it's a fluke.
It's not a fluke. It's not a fluke at all. I liked him before the season. I was someone who was saying, like, look, the situation landing in Cleveland is perfect for him to actually be fantasy relevant.
This offense is good for fantasy. That's the bottom line of it. It's good for fantasy.
They're not good for real football, but we'll take it for fantasy, no. I guess. Yeah. Sorry, Browns fans, but you know we're right. All right, let's hit up these DSTs real quick. I didn't upload the DST graphic, but we'll just run through them anyway, Mike. First one, Rams at the Tennessee Titans, $3,100 on DraftKings. $4,500 on FanDuel. I really like this call. Rookie quarterback Cam Ward, he had a really rough week against Denver last week. I think he's going to continue to have rough weeks until we get to about mid-season, and the Rams defense is serviceable enough, and you're paying down. I like this call.
So the Titans gave up 6 sacks to the Broncos in week 1. The Rams also get off after the quarterback. They had 3 sacks themselves in week 1. Look for them to up that sack total something fierce this week on Cam Ward. I like the Rams. I actually like the one you picked as well. It's another defense I wrote about. But yeah, the price is right too. It's not super high. It's $3,100 on DraftKings and $4,500 on FanDuel for the Rams defense. So I think it's a good play.
Yep, I think they get a couple of turnovers in this game against Cam Ward, and for $3,100, if you can get anything out of your defense, you'll be happy. The last one here. Yep,
we want
exactly. Just give me those 10 points and don't go below it. The last one we're going to talk about, Mike, your Patriots defense at the lowly Miami Dolphins, $2,800 on DraftKings, $4,400 on FanDuel. This is just very simply that I think Tua is a trash quarterback and this team is awful. They're poorly coached. They make a ton of mistakes, and I think that continues this week. I'm probably going to hammer every defense in DFS that plays against Miami this season until they give me a reason not to.
Their offensive line is horrible. Like horrible they were in week 1. And you know who else was getting off after the quarterback in week 1? The Patriots. They had 4 sacks. So I really think that turnstile offensive line is just going to have these guys walking right through them again this week. I wrote this up as I think the Patriots are going to give you at least 10 fantasy points this week. And they're not priced crazy either, right? 3,800 is not too bad. It's a little bit higher than the Rams. But that Miami offensive line just might be the worst in the league.
So they're actually $2,800. So they're about $300 cheaper
than
the Rams. Yep. So,
yeah.
The Patriots defense this week, I really like it. Again, it's a matchup thing, and I think they're capable of landing you somewhere in the 20-point range if this goes the way I think this game's going to go. Mike, I can't believe how bad Miami was. I really cannot believe that Daniel Jones did what he did to that defense and that their offense looked that atrocious. Just unbelievably bad.
I mean, Danny Jones has produced before. This team he's on right now might be the best offensive line he played behind. It's by far the best running back he's ever had, and the best group of receivers, if you want to include Warren in there with Pittman and Downs, that he's ever played with. So I expect him to keep producing because the talent around him is much better than he's ever had before.
I expect him to keep producing too. I think what we've seen the first 5 years of Daniel Jones' career is a guy who was poorly coached and didn't really have enough around him to succeed. Because when he had Saquon Barkley, that was his QB something year. I know he finished pretty high that season.
I know because I was playing him. He was in the top 10 that year. Yeah.
Yeah, he's QB9.
Yeah.
QB9, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 120 carries for 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. I don't think that's outside of the realm of what he can do in this Indy offense. In fact, I think he can be better than that in Indianapolis.
If anything, people who don't want their running backs touchdown vultured should be angry, right? If you're a Jonathan Taylor, if you roster Jonathan Taylor and you don't want to see him vulturing touchdowns, that's who should be pissed because he's going to do that this whole season.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely is. Definitely is. Well, all right, guys, that does it for us. If you want to continue the conversation, head over to Discord. You can find the link down in our show description. Redraft insights, dynasty discussions, DFS advice, NFL best bets, and a lot more over on that channel, guys. Mr. Lou Brunson, who you might see in the chat here and in every show, is over there answering your questions. He's there all the time. We all pop in as often as we can. We'd love to see you there. We're here to help. Mike, it's been a blast, buddy. Hopefully next week we can get your camera back.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the new computer next week.
I think that's a good call, man. All right, folks. Well, good luck this weekend with your DFS contests. Come back right around 4:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Keith and I will be here to answer all your questions, lay out some vibes, and talk about week 2. For Mike Reedy, I'm Nate Polvogt, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.